Yes, ma'am. Have you done it? Okay. It's like now. Okay.
Are we starting on time? Have you checked when Planet Silk will be able to join us?
It just
So I should start at 3 on the dot, or is there somebody going to speak before I? Mr.
You can start at 3.
Okay.
Even Mr. Fali SN is here.
3 on the dot, or is there somebody going to speak before
Okay.
hello. Yes, please. I would. Hello, Miracle.
Good afternoon, Leonard Silk.
Auntie for me.
Don't start that anti business. Don't start that anti business. People will think I'm an old woman.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
You greet Mr. Ali. You won't greet your sister. Okay.
I'm greeting everybody. I'm going to deal with it. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Leonard Silk. Good afternoon, Mrs. Roberts.
I'm trying to organize myself.
Me too. I'm just landing from Abuja, so I had to use I stopped in someone's house to just do this webinar. I went to Abuja.
Okay.
Miracle. I hope you remember my application.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes.
Because I'm at the airport already, actually. So they may call my flight anytime. So I don't want to risk it. So let me just make my presentation.
We will ensure that you are called 3 minutes after we're going to introduce you. We'll just, in less than 5 minutes, you'll be introduced and then you can have the floor,
God bless
sir.
you. God bless you. God bless you. I'm very grateful.
How do you share this thing?
So, Mr. Miracle, it's 3 o'clock.
Afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Afternoon. I do. I'm here.
Very good. I can see. Thank God.
I'm keeping my head above water.
Please.
As much as I can.
Please.
Thank you very much.
I'm about to start. Mr. Miracle, are we good to start?
You are good to start, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and compliments of the season. As we end this year, 2020, with all its challenges, I pray that 2021 will be a better year for all of us and we'll be able to tap the opportunities that come with a new year. The topic for today's webinar, put together by Threshold Attorneys, led by its managing partner, Mr. Miracle Akusobi, is legal risk and new technologies, challenges for the legal profession in Nigeria. Now, the world has undergone thunderous and impactful changes that had reverberating impact on world economy and the way we live. We have had the Industrial Revolution, the Mechanized Revolution, which was closely followed by the Electrical Revolution. But today we are talking about digital revolution driven by disruptive technology and fueled by the internet. So it is not that this revolution is the first revolution the world would, what we have to deal with now is the speed at which technology changes and the impact it behoves on us, even in the legal profession. I would not want to steal the thunder from the constellation of stars we have to talk to us today. Mrs. Funke Agbo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Livy Uzoku, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, OA, Mrs. Boma Alabi, one of the newly conferred Silk. Congratulations, Mrs. Alabi, and Professor Damilola Olawuyi, also one of the new Senior Advocates of Nigeria. Congratulations to both of you. We have Mrs. Folashade Ali, Mr. Okechukwu Uwana, and Dr. Tunde Ajibade, represented by Bukola Iji. Now, to deliver the keynote address today is Mr. Yusuf Ali, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and Principal Partner in Yusuf Ali & Co., one of our revered seniors. And I'll brief for the benefit of the very, very few people in the legal profession. And I'll just say that there are probably those who are called to the bar in very, very recent times who would not know Mr. Yusuf Ali. If you Google his name, his profile will probably come up about 20,000 or 2 million times. But Mr. Yusuf Ali is an active legal practitioner, is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, and is a senior advocate of Nigeria. He joined the law firm of Adegboyega Awomo Law in 1983 and became a partner in that firm. In 1989, he became a notary public, and in June 1994, he established Yusuf Ali & Co., Galib Chambers. He attained the highest professional honor at the Nigerian bar in 1997 when he was conferred with the prestigious and honorable title of Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Mr. Yusuf Ali is an active member of many professional bodies, including the Nigerian Bar Association, International Bar Association, Commonwealth Lawyers Association, among others. He's also a fellow of the Society for Peace Studies and Practice, fellow Dispute Resolution Institute, and he has served and is still serving on boards of many companies and institutions. Mr. Ali is a life member, body of benchers, and chairman of several committees, as well as member of several international bodies. He's an associate lecturer at the Faculty of Law in the University of Ilorin and a visiting research fellow at King's College, University of London. He has delivered papers on diverse topics at different fora. He has more than 30 articles published in his name, so I'll say he's well published. He has been awarded more than 250 honors from within and outside Nigeria, including Lifetime Achievement Award by the Governing Board of Editors of the American Biographical Institute, the Kwame Nkrumah Leadership Award on Education for Excellence, Icon of Societal Development by the West African Students Union. I could go on and on and on. And it gives me tremendous pleasure to ask Mr. Yusuf Ali, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to take the floor and deliver the keynote address at this webinar. Once again, I welcome you. Over to you, sir, Mr. Yusuf Ali, SAN.
Mrs. Fumi Roberts, let me thank you for the very generous introduction. And under that umbrella, let me also thank the organizers of this very important webinar, the Threshold Attorney and Solicitors, under the very dynamic and able leadership of our colleague, Miracle. Your name is actually, you are miraculous yourself. Miracle Akunubo, for the opportunity you have offered me to share my thoughts with you. As you can see, when you are given the assignment of a keynote, it's a very short job because you are supposed to set the tool for the others who will come after you. May I also thank you for that opportunity. I thank you for sharing my presentation already. Can we please move to the next slide? Yes. Now, by way of introduction, there's a lot of imperfection under there, please.
Please, can I ask those who are not speaking to please mute their microphone? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Moderator. Now, the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has changed the face of the way we do our things, and legal practice, the way we are used to, which was actually an analog profession, as it were, has its own fair share of having to now relate with the new normal, as it is called. So I want to say that given the circumstances in which we find ourselves, which has been imposed by nature, it's quite necessary that our profession, in order for us to be relevant in the world and in the space we occupy, we just need to move on and embrace the new normal with all the things that go with the new normal. Next, please. Thank you. Now, if you look at, like I said at the beginning, legal practice started out as an analog profession, very conservative, and even at our own time, when we joined the profession, it was still very, very conservative. And it's supposed to be so because it's a profession that was designed to assist the society, especially the less privileged in the society. And for some of our younger colleagues, that is why the gown you wear, there is one lapel at the back of the gown. That was supposed, lawyers were supposed in those days they were not supposed to charge fees or ask for money. But money will be put in that lapel when you appeared in court to show how conservative the profession is. Of course, we all know we have moved 90 years ahead of that today. And when technology came, we were very reluctant to adopt it. But then, of course, as some of us grew up, we all met the typewriter, Olympia, typewriter, and other such typewriters. Those were the things we met when we started practice. And of course, you then have the carbon paper. Then you have a cyclostyling machine. These were the things that we all knew. And then the easiest way to transmit documents in those days was through telex. And then telex came and left. And then we started moving. And then we came across photocopier machines. Sorry, the interference, please. So typewriter came, fax machine came, and then all these were going on until 1995. Well, can you please mute yourself? If you are not, you don't have a floor, please. The interference is disturbing me.
Please mute your mic if you're not speaking, please.
If you want, please ask him to mute his phone. Good luck, Ogbon.
Please. So, then 1995, Microsoft, with what he thought was revolutionary, they reduced the Windows 95. Windows 95 came, and then we thought we have had it. Only for the software that was later called the Mosaic software, which introduced the browser. And then the browser in turn brought the World Wide Web with www. And from that point on, there has been no looking back in the areas of technological and IT-driven worlds. And then the internet changed the face of the world, changed the totality of the way we live. And the important thing about IT and technology is the speed at which things get delivered. If you start from even the normal food, once you dial, it travels faster than light. And that is why you're able to receive instantaneous reaction when you make a phone call. And the internet has come to even beat that with its variety and adaptability to a lot of places in which we use it. Now, for us as lawyers, we thought we have had something good. We started out, we have Google Suite or Microsoft Office for email, calendar, and documents. From that, we have paperless office tools such as remote backup and external hard drive or less retrieval system. Then the law management softwares, which assist you to keep time billing, timekeeping, and so on and so forth. And of course, part of that, the accounting softwares, which has become part of any modern legal law firm. You must have an account department. Of course, you all recall that under our profession, you must have a client account. So the innovation of having accounting management software is that it assists you to run a seamless office and assists you to be able to keep strictly to the ethical requirement of our profession, that you must never mix your own money with the money of the client. And then lastly on that, we have the search engines, legal research engines, the Law Pavilion, the Wiki Law Report just joined, Law Digest, CompuLaw. So that unlike before, when you have to go to the library and start to search and search using 2-3 days looking for 1-2 authorities, at the touch of the button now, all the authorities on a particular subject or on particular issues will drop, and then you can do what I call seamless research. Now, as if this were not enough, then came cloud computing, which makes it possible that what you are doing now, you don't even need to use any other backup. Just go into the cloud. Whatever you are doing gets stored in the cloud, and you can retrieve at your convenience. Then, of course, there comes the issue of cyber security, because you then have people who are experts, whom we call hackers, who can break into any space and retrieve without reference to you whatever information you have stored in the cloud. And then, of course, video conferencing. What we are doing at Zoom is a classic example of video conferencing. Until the pandemic started, full blown this year, many of us had never used Zoom before, but it has become the new thing, the normal thing to use because of the COVID requirement and protocol of distancing, wearing face masks, and so on and so forth. So it's becoming normal. And of course, we have home computers, and then we have the VPNs, the virtual private networks, which you can install and assist you to run. So now, some of the things we use, which I've referred to, their uses are very easy. You know, the cloud is for storage. And then because lawyers, by the nature of what we do, you have to communicate with your clients, with your colleagues, and so on and so forth. So it has email, chat, instant messaging tools, name it. They have assisted the way we communicate. Unlike before, you may not even need to see your client now face to face if you can do Zoom or any of these other video methods of including FaceTime and so on and so forth. Now, of course, it has assisted us in task management, because now if you want to do projection, my screen is being shared, my presentation is being shared now. It's so easy. It's just a matter of pressing something, and then what you are presenting is right there for you to see. Then, of course, you have the password manager, which assists you to ensure that at least you are able to be at least one step ahead of hackers in terms of the security of the information you transmit through the IT. And then there are a lot of legacy of voice over internet protocol, which has been able to break the barriers of network connections. You now have a situation where you want to make phone calls, normal phone calls. Oh, you have network challenges. And some of these voice over internet protocol, they have been able to breach that gap for easy communication as well. Then there are a lot of legal specific operations that are available for legal practice, which can assist you for billing, for accounting purposes, for case management, and so on and so forth. So, and there are a lot of new startups and legal tech focused bodies that now for networking purposes, we have a lot of things we can use. You have the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and others. These are very useful for lawyers. And of course, I'm saying the obvious to say that most standard law firms now have their own website, because that is where you have the information about your practice and your selling point. So a law firm now that does not have a website probably is living in the last century. It has become a normal thing for offices to have websites. Now, all these things, they all appear good. They are very good. They have assisted us. They are assisting us. But of course, for every good thing, you have drawbacks, you have challenges. So, what are some of the challenges that face the use of technology in legal practice? One, of course, there are a lot of security loopholes in all these things we use. And that is why the hackers come in. Hackers have been...
Sorry, Leonard. Sorry, very sorry, Leonard.
Yes,
please. I'm very sorry. I understand how comprehensive your lecture is, but just to inform you that you have 4 more minutes to round up.
Oh, beautiful. I'll be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard.
Even including the 1 minute you have taken out of it, I'll be done. Now, so security loopholes there's no perfection in all these things. There are people whose business is to sit down and look at ways to beat the best of security, of the best of cyber security. So that is one of challenge. And then pre-installed malware. There are some of these software that you think you have, or some of these computing systems that even before you buy them, or at the point you have bought them, you are getting them, you have some issues with them, people can install malware. Malware are like viral, they're like cancer. Install in your system that will steal information from the system. And this is much more rampant in ATM terminals. Your identity theft is very rampant on the net. And then social network itself can be used for all sorts of things. It's the easiest way for pornography, for example. So these are some of the drawbacks. Of course, hacking itself is something. So then, of course, it has been shown from what happened in the NSAS problems that the country faced. People are galvanized on the social media. So it means it can be used for the good and for the bad, depending on what to use it for. Now, what do we have to do as lawyers to minimize the risks that the technologies are prone to? Number one, ensure that you have secure computers and servers and wireless networks. So from time to time, ensure that you get experts to check these things for you to be sure that your system have not been compromised. Then antivirus and anti-spyware protections and firewalls, which would deflect attempts to hack your information. Then you have to regularly update your software to the latest version. Sometimes you'll be prompted on your network or on your system that there is a new update of software. Try all the time to do it, because most of these updates were developed to counter the work of hackers. So if you do not upgrade your own, then you are hoping it will be easier for hackers to have access to your information. Then, of course, you must also use data backups, which is either offsite or even in a remote storage. So in case, if, for example, your system crashes, you should be able to recall and have access to information so that you don't lose very vital information. Then your staff, sometimes everybody must be trained on the uses of IT and the dangers that are inherent in the use. And then, of course, ensure that you have privacy policies in place. Of course, we know as lawyers, the information given by our clients are sacrilegious to be diverted to a third parties, so except for exceptional reasons allowed by law. So it's quite very important. Then, of course, you must understand the legal implications of online transactions, either for your practice or for other things, especially for your practice. Then always ensure you put in place cybersecurity and data breaches rules and awareness at all times. Because I know time is our enemy, may I once again thank our colleague, Miracle Akobodo, and his law firm for this opportunity. And I want to thank and appreciate each one of you for the audience you have granted while I was making this presentation. I hope that our appetite has been whetted enough for the other detailed presentations that will follow. Thank you very much. If my flight is called, you may just see that I'm off. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lennox. We deeply appreciate. In fact, Benny were called. I knew that it was going to be a cracker, and I want to appreciate you for giving us your time to talk to Rock. Lennox, because of your other engagements, I will be allowing you to go now while we introduce the other speakers. But if there are questions for you, we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Once again, we appreciate
you very much.
Thank you
for
coming.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yes, the next speaker quickly will be Mrs. Funke Agbo, XAN. Funke Agbo, XAN is the head of the Shipping and Dispute Resolution Group of Akas Law, a full-service law firm which offers comprehensive range of legal services on complex legal and multi-jurisdictional transactions to its diverse clientele, including Nigerian and foreign businesses and government and multinationals. For want of time, we have the profile of Funke Agbo here online. You can always call for it. Mrs. Funke Agbo, sorry, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Have we lost Mrs. Roberts?
Yes, we've lost her, but she'll be coming back soonest.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you. I see that we're all speaking on the same subject.
Sorry, Ma. Let me introduce you to the topic you'll be speaking on. You'll be speaking on technology and business of the law. Why law firms and legal practitioners need to explore emerging technology to be competitive. That's the topic, Ma. You're welcome, Ma.
Thank you very much. I think I know my topic. The one that was sent to me was legal risks and new technologies, challenges for the legal profession in Nigeria. The exact same topic that my learned brother, Mr. Yusuf Ali spoke about. So I thought that was, when he spoke, I thought everybody was speaking about that. The topic you've just mentioned was not sent to me, so that's not what I prepared. But I'm very happy that, yes, no problem, it's fine. I'm happy I'm speaking after Mr. Yusuf has given his keynote address. So I'm just going to add a little of my own thoughts to what he has said. Certainly, I agree completely with everything that he has said. He has touched on all aspects of technology in the legal profession. And these days, we are talking about technology in the legal profession as legal technology or law tech. So in terms of the challenges for the legal profession, I will just start by saying that we have this new term that we say new and emerging technologies across all sort of areas. And of course, in every single discipline, in every industry, you have law. So law is very key. So new and emerging technologies encompasses the most novel, advanced, and prominent innovations that are developed within various fields of current modern technology. Examples of NET, that's new and emerging technologies, include genetic engineering techniques, developments in engineering techniques, developments in artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, and social networking, which everyone is familiar with. Now, this continues to be in the process of continuous growth and consistent growth. In this technology era, we find that this increasingly shapes our homes, our businesses, and our governments, and Nigeria is by no means left out. According to research conducted by the Center for Global Development in 2019, Nigeria's ICT, information and communication technologies sector has grown from less than 1% of GDP in 2001 to almost 10% of GDP today. So that's a huge, huge leap from 2001. Furthermore, Nigeria is, and very significantly, is Africa's biggest technology market and accounts for 23% of internet users, with 122 million people online as of December 2018. We are December 2020, so you can imagine the numbers that are online in this part of the world. For the legal profession in Nigeria, the use of legal technology, law tech, has become more prevalent. So what is legal technology or law tech? This essentially means the use of technology and software to provide and aid legal services. As things stand, lawyers and indeed law firms now have an appreciation of the importance of the use of technology in rendering legal services. The advantages of utilizing legal technology cannot be overstated, and some of these advantages include automation. There are numerous software applications that can be used by law firms in automating different areas of their business that require management. For example, scheduling meetings, document management, tasks such as billing, invoicing, even for commercial law firms that have time billing, you have time billing software where you can put in your hourly rates and it can be managed properly. All of this can be automated. It is obvious that the automation of this task will inevitably reduce the time spent by lawyers in attending to this task. As we all know, that technology has to do with inclusion, has to do with reducing costs and maximizing all the potentials that are possible. It improves and streamlines and optimizes our current processes and the way of working. Some of these things are not so current, but they have been ongoing over time. And really, COVID-19 pandemic has thrown us right in the middle of it and has actually accelerated the process.
Very sorry, ma'am. I'm very sorry, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am? Sorry,
Yes.
I did not tell you that you have 10 minutes within which to give your lecture so they can manage your time very well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so also research is key, is one of those things that have come out of this, how we do our research. So without a shadow of doubt, research is either the joy or dread of a lawyer. Nonetheless, whether joy or dread, research is the lifeline of a lawyer. We cannot do without it. Technology has also come to our aid in this regard. There are a plethora of online research platforms that provide research resources such as case law decisions and articles. Examples of some of these platforms include LexisNexis, Our Law Pavilion, Westlaw, Thomson Reuters, and many more. Law Pavilion is particularly worthy of mention. It focuses on providing technology related to legal services in Nigeria and is a Nigerian electronic law report and research software which judges use, magistrates and lawyers. And it has been a tremendous help to us. Social media, all of these things have been mentioned by Leonard Silk in his keynote address. And I'm just adding to what he has said. Social media has now become an essential mode of networking with colleagues, clients, and potential clients. We have on the Internet of Things, we have LinkedIn, we have Mondag, we have all kinds of software and all kinds of platforms by which we can connect with each other, learn about each other, even seek for jobs in the legal profession across the world. I know people who have sat in Nigeria and through LinkedIn have applied for and been employed in parts of the world that you cannot even imagine, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all kinds of places. And this is what technology has made possible even for the lawyer. So although the technology brings benefits to the legal profession, it does not come without its corresponding legal risks. Some of the risks related to technology are the cybersecurity issues, as mentioned by Mr. Yusuf and the ESN. And for the legal profession, security and confidentiality is a big issue matter of integrity. And for law firms that work on cross-border transactions where other jurisdictions are involved, you know that in Europe, they have the GDPR, they have data protection laws. When you're working with an international a client or working with a client that is based in a different country or a different continent, particularly in Europe, because where they are very strict, sometimes you have to provide them with an indemnity to show that you are able to deal with any kind of substantial damage claim that may be brought against you because of professional negligence or something. You also have to show them that you have secured your system such that in dealing with their work, when you're transacting with them, of course, you may have confidential information that would be in your own custody. How safe is information on your own systems? So it is really, really important that if you're going to be using technology in Nigeria for your law practice, you had better ensure that it is secure as safe as possible. Nothing is 100% secure. So what you need to do is to show that to the best of your ability and to a reasonable extent, you have done what you need to do. So those are really important. Some of the challenges I think will be issues to do with copyright, plagiarism. There's so much on the internet that as a lawyer in your research, you may be tempted to copy and paste, but that is absolutely not right. And also, just as they say, if the person, you have a pen, the person that made a pen is the one that made, or the person who made the pencil is the one that made the eraser. So if you are going to be writing articles and sending them out, if you are plagiarizing, if you are copying and pasting from things that have been put on the internet by other authors or other article writers, it can easily be checked. And you don't want to be called out in that way because that is reputational risk, reputational damage, and it is not good for you as a practitioner or for your members of the lawyers that you employ. So it's very key when you are employing young lawyers that some of these things at the beginning of their employment, as part of their onboarding of your new weeks into your firm, you need to take them through all of these processes because all of these things, not a lot of these things are taught in the law school. So what you learn in law school and what you learn in practice, there are some elements that just do not collide at all. So it behoves you as an employer and a practitioner who is dealing with cross-border issues and issues of confidentiality. I mean, these things are, they're a sine qua non for lawyers. So a lawyer must know that anything that has to do with his office is confidential. He cannot share it with anybody, whatever the case. And in Nigeria, sometimes these things are a bit slack. So one needs to really make a point of it and also ensure that the systems that your lawyers use are not easily hacked. You need to do checks, surprise checks on your systems so that when people are sending phishing emails, your lawyers know that this is a phishing email. They are able to identify it. You know, so it's not just enough to give somebody a laptop and then they're using it. You need to be able to ensure that they're using it appropriately. They are not downloading things that shouldn't be downloaded and that sort of thing. So all of these are the ways of protecting your systems and your practice. We've talked about legal contracts. I mean, with law tech, I know young lawyers now who are trying to enable people who are not able to afford legal services in the way that used to happen in the past. Businesses are just growing and there's so much going on. And there are people who have genuine business startups, but they really can't afford some of these basic legal services. And it is in other countries you have forms that lay people can obtain online and use for your basic maybe landlord and tenant agreement. In fact, you find wills online that they can use, but then these are supported by their laws in the sense that they can do it and it will be okay. But we're going to do it here. We need to ensure that the integrity of those documents is such that they cannot now impute some kind of wrongdoing by the lawyers who have provided those sorts of material online for the use of lay people. So we have to be careful there, but I'm sure we will get there because there's no way, I mean, technology is moving, we can't be left behind. So I was just trying to pick up on a number of things. I mentioned that the COVID situation, the pandemic, has actually brought the issue of tech, the front and center of the legal and judicial administration of justice in Nigeria. When the pandemic hit, there was little or no virtual, actually there was no virtual hearing, there's even no law to support the virtual hearing, of course. But as a result of the pandemic, I mean, we couldn't really shut down the administration of justice. People were suffering losses, criminal activities were going on, and we can't say because of pandemic in Nigeria, we're not going to courts. So we found that the courts also had to issue protocols on virtual hearings and remote hearings, and those are in play now. So there's a reform that is going on in the judiciary now, trying to drive the technological revolution of our courts and our judicial system. And of course, eventually the legal profession will benefit from that. And so as in technology, it reduces time, it reduces costs, all the things that we thought we couldn't do before, we are all doing, we're working from home. So for working from home as well, for lawyers, you have to ensure that your systems are such that your lawyers can work comfortably from home. They have the data that they need, they have the software that they need. You have closed systems within your office so that stuff that you're doing in the office is not mixed up with things that they're doing personally and so on. We can have Zoom meetings, we can have Microsoft Teams meetings, we have Google meetings. There are all sorts of things that we didn't know happened. Mr. Yusuf mentioned it, that before COVID, I mean, I never used Zoom. Now I use Zoom for everything. I use it for my meetings, I use it for my arbitrations, I use it for my mediations. I mean, it's just amazing. So what used to be like an outlier method of doing things is now sort of mainstream. So just to, I mean, what are the drivers of change? I made a few notes on that. And some of that—
I'm sorry, Lenasik.
Yes.
Lenasik, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You have 2 more minutes to round up, Lenasik.
Okay, well, I mean, at the end of the day, this is where we are. And we just have to take it forward. Let's make the most of it. And sometimes people say that because of technology, people are going to lose jobs. I don't think we should regard technology as a threat. We should regard it as an opportunity for growth in so many other areas, and that people will get more confident and more professional in other areas. The sort of areas of technology we are talking about: client relationship systems, online legal services, internal knowledge systems, back office tech, all of this is what we're talking about. But finally, in the view of the nature, benefits and implications of legal technology for legal professionals in Nigeria, it is vital that lawyers are made aware of the benefits of technology through relevant stakeholders, the Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Law School. These are things that we should pick up on. Furthermore, the need for a better and more developed infrastructural framework and internet service provision cannot be overemphasized. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Lenasik. We appreciate Lenasik. Lenasik talked about plagiarism and also talked about development in AI, big data, and others. And she also mentioned that plagiarism could destroy one's integrity and reputation if not managed very well. And you know what to do. What means that please try as much as possible to give credit to whom credit is deserved. Lenasik, quickly, since you've not sent questions, I want to just ask quickly that some persons fear that development in AI, big data, and other areas will replace human or deny us what it means to be human. What do you think about that, Lenasik?
Well, as I said, I don't think we need to regard it as a threat, because when, I think, remember when Mr. Ayili in his keynote address, he talked about when there were typewriters, there were people who only knew how to do typewriters and shorthand. What happened to them? They had to learn to use computers and so on. So we just have to keep learning. Just as we are human beings, it's not like everybody is a robot or anything, but it just means that there will be other opportunities that will be created for others to do other things. So, and it's just a learning curve. So those people who learned how to type and do shorthand, I'm not sure that they're complaining now. Of course, there's nothing like that anymore. A typewriter is almost like I don't even know what to call it, extinct. Telex machines, the people who operated telex machines, well, I don't know whether they should be complaining. They are learning other things. The people who used to use fax machines, that's gone. So technology is not going to stop. It's going to be accelerated. The only thing that is different now is that rather than, you'll find continuous automation that is just being driven by the world right now. What we are not seeing right now is innovation. So I'm sure we'll see innovation and automation as we go along.
Thank you, Lenasik. We deeply appreciate. The message is very clear. Please don't just throw it away. We're going to get used to it. Let's keep learning. Let's follow the trend. That's the message. Thank you, Lenasik, once again. We appreciate your time. Well, thank you again for coming for the show. The next I'll be talking to Rox. It's a man I respect. A man I respect so much. He has achieved. It's a man whose words and works command compelling respect. It's one of the tallest trees in legal profession. It's a man that everybody wants to hear, say something. His name is Professor, Damilola Olawuyi, XAL, Fellow Chartered Institute of Arbitrator. Prof, please. Prof will be talking to us on challenges towards the objective utilization of technology, innovation in legal profession. Prof, please, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Prof.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Prof. I just mentioned, Prof can hear you, can go on.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here and to join this very wonderful session. I bring you compliments and greetings from Afeba Balola University in Ado-Ekiti. I want to commend and appreciate the organizers of today's session.
Can you hear me,
for
Prof?
bringing us together to discuss this. Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Prof. Prof, let me just quickly read out. I'm sorry for interrupting, but let me just quickly read out that Professor Damilola Olawuyi, XAN, Fellow Chartered Institute of Arbitrator, is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Afe Babalola University, Ado-Ekiti, Abuad, and Director of Institute for Oil, Gas, Energy, Environment, and Sustainable Development at Abuad. He holds a doctorate degree in Energy and Environmental Law from the University of Oxford, Masters of Laws from Harvard University, and another LLM from the University of Calgary. He obtained a first-class degree in the law from Igbinedion University, Nigeria, and another first-class degree from Nigerian Law School, Abuja campus. Prof, for want of time, you're not an unknown person. Please, you have the floor. You're a man that has achieved so much at a very early age. Prof, I'm honored to welcome you to the program. Please, you have the floor, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those very kind and wonderful remarks. I really appreciate your invitation. I've been asked to discuss a very interesting topic, and I'm going to just go straight into it in the interest of time. And it's my pleasure to have this opportunity to be on the same panel with senior advocates and lawyers of repute. You've asked me to talk about some of the, as the Leonard Silk just discussed, technology brings opportunities as well as challenges and threats to the profession. And so in order for us to benefit from the opportunities, we have to address the threats as well. And so I'm going to talk about some of the threats very quickly, and then talk about what I think will be the way forward in addressing those threats. And in doing that, let me introduce you to some of the theoretical teachings of collapsologists. Collapsologists are authors that have been warning us very recently a lot that technology, as we see it, they've been telling us that COVID-19, rather, as we see it, might be the end of the global economy as we have known it. It might be the beginning of the collapse of the normal functioning of the global economy. So these scholars called collapsologists are saying it is very smart for everyone to note and take note that this all use of online technology will be the new normal. due to some of the problems that we've created in our world, there will be an increase in pandemics, an increase in diseases, due to what they call the rise of interactions with animals. There will be more pandemics coming. And so this might not be the first and the last time that we will have to shut down the global economy due to a pandemic. That's what collapsologists have been saying. And you will see, if you ever have time to read this book, maybe for bedtime reading, you would see the work of Savigny and Stevens, where they talk about some of these problems. What they simply say is that the normal physical face-to-face attributes of global business transactions may have come to an end. And this might be the last time we would ever have the luxury of continuing along that path. So they are saying, given this, telework, teleconferencing, online dispute resolution will be the new normal. And I would like to share with you this very interesting quotation from this book. They say, today, utopia has changed sides. It is the utopians who believe that everything can continue as before, while realists put their energy into making a transition and building local resilience. Collapse is the horizon of our generation, but collapse is not the end. It is the beginning of our future. We will reinvent new ways of living in the world and being attentive to ourselves, to other human beings, and to our fellow creatures. So they are simply saying that you know, we have to be realists, and of course, as lawyers, we cannot afford to be utopians. We have to be realists. We have to be realistic in knowing that we need to prepare for the collapse of the normal face-to-face interactions that the world became so used to over the years. Now, how do we prepare as lawyers? We simply need to build the legal practice of the future. And that would cut across how we think of practice and how we even think of legal education in order to ensure that we are ready for the new normal, which we have to be dynamic, technology-driven, and essentially automated. What does the new normal look like? This is what it will look like. And some of our speakers have talked about automation. You going into the restaurant and being served by robots. And this is what the scale of justice will look like in the new normal. Of course, what this simply means is that there will be a rise in the use of Internet of Things in all sectors. There will be a rise in artificial intelligence, blockchain, and much more. And of course, the Leonard Silk already talked about some of the possibilities of humans being substituted by machines, which, like she rightly said, may not be a threat. It's just the reality that we must get used to. And you see, when you look at some of these developed countries, we already see this happening. You see that in many countries, petroleum pump attendants are already replaced. You go into the gas station and you have to pump, and of course, you just have to, you stay there and then you get served by technology. You see across the world that, you know, many law firms no longer have secretaries as we used to know. There are self-driving cars and lorries already on the roads in the US and in Canada. And you already see many law firms using artificial intelligence to perform due diligence and conduct client interviews. This is going to be the new normal. So in the next few years, I like to say that to not use automation will be analogous to what the keynote speaker already said, that back in the days, we had people, the legal practice was based on use of manual typewriters. I think to not be fully automated in the next few years will be analogous to a lawyer who still uses manual typewriter in our current world. So what do we then need to do? We need to realize that as the world is moving towards this new digital age, we have to get ready in the profession in this country in order to effectively adapt and in order to compete really with others in other parts of the world. And I'm going to talk about 4 things that I feel we need to start thinking of very seriously. I think the deployment of AI and big data raises significant questions, and some of these questions have been mentioned by the keynote speaker. We have to think about issues of reliability, fairness, privacy, safety, security, especially the issues of accountability and confidentiality. Imagine you being in a meeting with a client and the meeting has been secretly hacked, and then you find yourself having to answer to confidentiality and privacy breaches. This will be very significant for lawyers, and that's something that we need to think about. Secondly, as we talk about AI, automation, technology, we need to realize that some of the current systems that we have in place that were designed for human-controlled processes will then require new laws. For example, what is going to happen if your wine-serving robot suddenly kills someone? Or when your self-driving car gets into a road accident, who is going to be responsible in torts or in criminal law? Is it going to be the car owner or the manufacturer or the software designer? So these are real questions that we've been spending time to think about, because it simply means what we used to know as tortious liability or criminal law may have to be reinvented as technology becomes the new normal. Issues of layoffs and underemployment as well will have to be reinvented. The law is going to change radically. It's just not about saying we're using technology. The law itself will have to change to address some of these new problems. Number three is that we should ask ourselves as well, do we really have the infrastructure in Nigeria to be able to cope with this new normal? When you look at some of the old developmental problems of lack of electricity, lack of reliable IT or reliable data storage infrastructure, then you begin to see that we still have a number of things to put in place, really, as the world goes fully automated. And when you look at some of the recent studies, they point to this fact. We like to talk about some of the things we do in the big cities, like what we're doing right now, are simply not available when you go to some of the more rural areas where they do not even have the internet reliability to be able to conduct some of the most basic research in law firms that are not in the big cities. So, and that leads us to the question of training as well. And this is something that we have been taking very seriously at Afe Babalola University. We've spent a lot of money and time building the new generation of lawyers that will be technologically smart, that will be fully ready to be the leaders in this new normal. Because law schools, law faculties have to then begin to introduce courses on how lawyers can understand robotics, artificial intelligence, and how they can understand the questions they should be asking in this technology-driven world. And so at Abuad, we are introducing some of the most innovative courses that will allow our students to understand the intricacies of a technology-driven legal practice. And I think I want to encourage law faculties across the country to begin to think deeply about this. So, yeah, and of course, in addition to training lawyers of the future, we also have to provide some professional and executive education courses for current judges and established lawyers before whom arbitration or cases might come when it comes to the perils of artificial intelligence and disruptive technologies that the world is embracing. So in conclusion, I do think that technology is going to be the new normal. And if we do the right things, it will bring out the best in Nigeria's already versatile and hardworking pool of lawyers. But for us to be able to achieve that, we just need to ensure that we put in place a mix of structural and non-structural reforms that will get us there. Of course, those structural measures would include addressing issues of infrastructure that I mentioned, for us to be able to meet the demand of telework, e-commerce, and e-justice that the world is talking about. And you see that a recent survey shows that across the world, many of the CEOs of leading companies are already saying a certain percentage of their workers should work from home in order to begin to face in this issue of remote work. And so rather than just theorizing these things, I think we need to start implementing a shift, gradual shift, allowing some of our junior lawyers to work from home, to test their technology, and to be able to sort of get ready as the world increasingly moves to this telework model. And of course, non-structural measures, lastly, would include putting in place adequate laws to address some of those issues I talked about, issues of liability, issues of ensuring that there are e-justice portals by our judiciary, such that cases can be filed online, cases can be managed online, and even some countries like the Netherlands and the United Kingdom are already introducing what they call online civil service, in which you can actually achieve everything online without having to go into the court premises. I'm going to leave it at that. I want to thank you very much again for the opportunity to join you, and I look forward to taking questions in due course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Prof, we appreciate you. And then once again, let me, even though I didn't do that before you started, let me formally congratulate you on your admission into the inner bar yesterday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I want to believe that where you are is not as far as where you're still heading to. We believe so much in your achievements, Prof. You are an encouragement. Prof, let me quickly say that you talked about, the new normal where AI will be used to do virtually everything. And then my question is, what does that portend for the legal profession? Can you hear me, Prof? Can you hear me, Prof?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. You've asked that in the new normal, what will the challenges be for the legal profession? Did I get that right?
You talked about AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will be used to do virtually everything in the new normal. And then my question is, what does that portend for the legal profession?
Well, it raises a number of challenges and opportunities, but I would rather focus on the opportunities, because when you think of the challenges, we start thinking of, oh, are we going to lose our jobs to machines and the likes? But I think the opportunities it brings simply that the world will become so interconnected that wherever you are, you can actually handle big cases and serve big clients in any part of the world without ever seeing them, without ever meeting them. That is the future of law. And I think for anyone that is prepared, that has the skill, the training, and as well as the infrastructure, they will be able to benefit a lot from this interconnectedness. So the days of having to travel and having to rely on human beings for everything will gradually wind down. And you see that lawyers that are prepared for that will be able to advise clients in Russia, in China, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and be able to just practice. Before now, you know that you have to be licensed in those jurisdictions for you to advise. In an AI-driven world, I think the world will be so interconnected that those artificial bifurcations will no longer be there.
Can you hear me, Prof? Can you hear me? Prof, once again, we appreciate. It's always a pleasure to hear you share ideas. Once again, we appreciate your pressure. The next person I'll be talking to us quickly, it's Buma Alabi, SAN. Buma Alabi, it's one person I do not think has ever declined any opportunity to share idea or to give back to the society. She's one person I respect so much. Buma Alabi is the founder of Premier African Legal. She'll be talking to us on the legal and constitutional issues associated with emerging and new technology. Lenesi, please, you have the floor. You're welcome, Lenesi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lenesi. And then, Lenesi, let me just, sorry, quickly before you start, Lenesi, let me mention that you have 10 minutes to give your lectures. And again, let me appeal to other speakers to please stick to the 10 minutes talking time so we can meet up the time. We appreciate. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating anything that has already been said before, and I'll, of course, keep within the time frame allocated. I was asked to speak on legal and constitutional issues associated with emerging and new technologies.
Very well, Lenesi.
Start with an introduction. I'll keep that brief so that, again, like I said, I won't repeat what has already been said. New and emerging technologies are, of course, part of what we have to live with now. And every day, something new is coming up. I think it's a good thing. And it means that we can work literally from any part of the world. And when we refer to global village, we really are a global village now. In 2021, the emerging technologies and trends look out for is blockchain. Of course, AI and machine learning is on the rise and continues to be on the rise. Cloud computing will get even more, become even more a part of our lives. And augmented reality, virtual reality, of course, 5G, which has had so much bad press already, is being rolled out. Robotics is getting more and more sophisticated. Solar powered cars will be more prevalent. Currently, we're going to, electric cars, and that is quite common in other jurisdictions. We need to begin to look at that from our perspective as a country and our reliance and dependence on oil uh, income. Of course, digital currency and fintech, behavioral biometrics, cybersecurity, because we're doing so much online that uh, security becomes more and more of an issue. And putting all of that into a nutshell in terms of the legal and constitutional issues that might arise, we have to look at privacy law, data protection, data regulation and storage, data security, and privacy. Of course, we also have to look at the law of evidence because we found with COVID-19 that it is pushing our jurisdiction into doing more and more uh, work online and via virtual media. So, of course, the law of evidence has to change to accommodate these things. I'm sorry, it's a bit noisy here. Sitting in the reception of the hotel where whilst waiting to quickly check in. So the law of evidence, we've got to look at modern means of evidence collection, expanding digital evidence, procedural changes, and adapting and training of we, the legal professionals. Of course, intellectual property law is also a key part of the legal and constitutional issues that will come up as a result of um, the way the world is going. The same thing with criminal law, cybercrime. Cybercrime can be committed across borders. We've got to find a way to hold these cyber criminals accountable equally across borders. Right now, I think the only cross-border agency we have is Interpol. That has to quickly man up in order to ensure that cyber criminals do not get away with crimes. In terms of the law and the constitutional changes that are required to ensure that that law is enforced. So, for instance, we know that in the United States of America has a policy where they literally have not signed any, well, they do sign agreements with other countries, but when it involves their citizens, you're unable to get them to repatriate their citizens for offenses committed elsewhere. Um, that will need to change. There's got to be some parity in the way nations work with each other in order to deal with cyber criminals. Um, what I'll do is share this slide when after this webinar is over in view of the paucity of time. But I would ask the questions that arise out of this just to get us thinking and also highlight some of the opportunities. So when we're here and we're using technology and storing things on cloud, for instance, are we in breach of client confidentiality or are we not? Because have we crossed borders in storage? And what laws govern the information that we're storing on cloud or on, in your Dropbox or those tools that have become quite commonplace? I know, for instance, that our colleagues, lawyers in England and in some other jurisdictions, are unable to use some of these tools because they're concerned about their clients' confidentiality, the rules of the jurisdictions where these cloud storage facilities are based, and so on. And I'm just thinking, how much thought do we give to that in our jurisdiction here? So that's a question for all of us. But I think, really, from my perspective, looking at where we're going, I see huge opportunities. And it's really for us to be aware of the latest developments and technologies that allow us as professionals to be competitive in today's market, as well as future proof our businesses. There are opportunities in legal drafting, contracts, in legislation and regulation, where we can work collaboratively with our colleagues across jurisdictions. There's a demand for more responsive oversight in the area of law and technology, and this in itself is an opportunity. There are new skilled roles and areas in legal services coming up as a result of all of this. There are tech hubs in and out of jurisdiction where we can, service our clients from, as previous speakers have said, any location. And these opportunities are really out there more for young lawyers than for us, the older ones. I know some of the younger lawyers in my firm, for instance, are developing uh, work, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa, sitting in Lagos, in the fintech world and technology generally. And they're able to service these clients because, technology means we can work across borders and without borders. And very soon, I understand, payments in Bitcoins and uh, cryptocurrency would be acceptable and available even within our locations in Lagos to our firms. I know on the bad side of things that kidnappers in Abuja on one occasion that I'm aware of asked to be paid in Bitcoins. So the opportunities are there, good, bad, and ugly. We as a profession can take hold of those by simply applying ourselves in doing so. In conclusion, like I said, this paper will be made available, and I'm keeping this very brief. There's an increase in interaction between technology and law. Whilst this activity has its positive, it also comes across with associated issues and risks. These issues and risks pose challenges for the legal profession, but also offer numerous and diverse opportunities too, such as new types of lawsuits or modifying existing ones, expanding areas of practice, building new skills and profitable specialization for lawyers, paradigm shifts and a total overhaul of certain regulatory systems have become necessary in order to accommodate innovation better. And the profession should embrace techno regulation or regulation by technology, as technology might be the solution, or at least enable the solution. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to speak. And my first since the elevation yesterday. I thank you, Miracle. I can see my sister Falashade there. Thank you very much. I was very pleased to share a platform with you, with my sis,
Thank you. Thank you.
SPN, and Prof, and all the distinguished speakers. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Renasik. And again, once again, may I also humbly congratulate you on admission to the inner bar. We appreciate all that you do for the legal profession.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue to call on you to share ideas. Please unlock the door. And Leonard Sick had just mentioned that the need for more robust oversight on law and technology cannot be emphasized. And again, she has also mentioned that we can take hold of the opportunities she mentioned or identified by applying ourselves. The ball is in our court. Thank you, Leonard Sick. We appreciate you. Hello, can you hear me, Leonard Sick?
Yes, indeed. And okay. Thank you very much.
That's okay, Leonard Sick. The next to take the stage is Mrs. Folashade Ali, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. Folashade Ali is the founder of Folashade Ali and Associates. She's a notary public and a chartered arbitrator. She obtained master's degree in corporate and commercial law from University of London, University College London in 1987 after she was called to the bar in 1985. She was admitted into the Bar of England and Wales in 1960. Mrs. Folashade Ali, please, you have the floor. And again, you have 10 minutes to talk to us. Thank you. And then we also want to appreciate you for coming.
Thank you, everyone. I guess I'll say, first of all, thank you to Threshold Solicitors for inviting me, and to my learned silks, all here present. I would like to thank you. After you've all spoken, I guess there's not much I need to say. Everything has been said, but I have to say something. But congratulations to Boma Alabi and to Professor Olawoyin. Very proud of the two of you, and we're just proud of you. So to my topic, I've been told to speak on a topic relating to merging legal legacy systems with modern technology. What are the risks and challenges for the legal profession, which is more or less what Leonard Silk, Mrs. Agbo have just spoken to. But I'll be looking at the paper from four. My focal point will be on four areas. One, first of all, what's the future of the legal practice? What are the risks and challenges that I envisage would occur with this modern technology that we've all embraced? What are legacy systems? What do we really mean by them? And how can we interact and merge the two? And then I'll just conclude. So please, if you could share my slide, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
We're doing that already. We're doing that already.
In a nutshell, everybody says the future of the legal profession will radically change. So Professor Ross Keats said, the future of the legal profession, technology will be the main driver of this change. And in the long run, we'll neither need nor want professionals to work in the way that we used to in the 20th century. So definitely things are going to change. The question is, how are we in the legal profession embracing this? He predicts that a world of online courts is what we're going to be seeing very soon, and we're already seeing it. Virtual hearings are now the new normal. As Professor Olawoyi said earlier, he said artificial intelligence-based global legal business is the order of the day. We're going to have liberalized markets. So really, the question is, what are we doing in this new age? I mean, if I think about it, and I want to ask everybody here present, how many of us really have looked at law reports recently? I'm quite sure if we run a poll, probably 95% of us have not looked at hard copies recently. We're all used to now looking at using Law Pavilion or LexisNexis. Unfortunately, that is the way forward. We all need to now embrace this technology and move with the times. If I also ask, did anybody actually see the billboard of this webinar? I'm quite sure there was no advertisement. We all got invited online. So what am I trying to say? The point is that technology is really the catalyst by which the world now turns. Over the past few years, technology has really taken significant impact. So we're going to be looking at what do we really mean by legacy system. In a nutshell, legacy system is an out-of-date system. It really refers to the traditional way in which our parents used to practice law. If you please stay on this slide, please, thank you. So legacy system is how my father practiced law. I mean, law firms, law reports, we all have them now, but do we really look at them? Law Pavilion has just made life easy. I can do my research within seconds. All the cases are there. So the question is, how do we really merge the modern technology with the modern technology that's rising? With the rise of technology in the legal profession, it is mandatory that all of us embrace it, which starts from us. I mean, and I know that most bar associations are now insisting that there must be mandatory continuing legal education for all of us. We need to ensure that all our colleagues at work, especially the junior ones, are technology savvy. And they are more than us. So we, older generation, need to actually embrace it. COVID-19 has really helped me, I must say. I mean, during COVID-19, I decided that I was tired of calling my colleagues to help me with Zoom. Now, I conduct virtual hearings online. I went for ODR Africa, which is an online training. I can use Modron. There's so many, Zoom, that you can have all your meetings, breakout rooms. So really, the future is just using Zoom and any of the other internet. I mean, if elderly people like my father, Babalola, can do that, then we all need to move with the times. So businesses definitely are changing, and we all need to change with that. So we all know what legacy system is. Legacy system is the old way of reacting. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the advantages really of modern technology have been said by everyone, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. We have virtual hearings now. I mean, I did a hearing, there's a hearing where I held an ICC expedited procedure where a client was in Kenya, one was in Netherlands, and I was here in Nigeria, and we concluded, and I issued the award. So it is really the way to go. One, it reduced costs. So the cost of traveling is reduced. There's no hearing room. Everything is just easy. And honestly, you can finish your hearing much faster than, having, and then when even there's a need for an adjournment, you don't feel too bad because you haven't traveled that far. The only thing you've missed is maybe, obviously, you've cleared your diary for that day. Now there's a vacuum, and cost will deal with that. So really, also we've been told about the fact that we can digitalize and store all our case laws now online in the cloud, as Mr. Yusuf Essien said earlier on. And research is much easier, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't read the cases and just not deal just with the outlines. And obviously everything is automated now. So there's a lot of advantages, but now the question I've been asked to address is, what are the risks that we see with virtual hearing? Please, we change the next slide, please. The challenges, one has been said, Professor Olawoyi earlier on said about the fact that no matter what we say, we're in Africa. So we lack steady network and power. Next slide, please. I mean, we all know that in Nigeria, no matter, I mean, an example is myself. I landed from Abuja because I went for the swearing of the new silk. Came back because of traffic. I looked at the time. I decided that if I want to take the risk of going to the island, I might miss this. I have to stop in someone's house. We have to put on the generator. The cost, and if you're lucky, network also, I mean, calls drop. So, I tried 3 systems. I finally found one that worked. So really, we still are at a rudimentary state. Government needs to improve on infrastructure. We need to have constant power supply. It is, I mean, if you look at places like Ghana, go to Togo, they have lights. Why can't we have this in Nigeria? So until we have all these fundamental and basic necessities, you don't go to England and you're told that there's no lights. If a neighboring country, Cote d'Ivoire, can have lights, why don't we have in Nigeria? So that definitely is a challenge. And until we have all this infrastructure, no matter what we say, there's still going to be a problem. Not everybody can afford to have the diesel and generator working. So that's a challenge that some of us have when we have our colleagues work from home. I mean, during the pandemic, we tried, but even when you do, somebody will phone you and tell you, I'm sorry, we didn't have light for a day, so I couldn't charge my phone. So how can you have the Zoom call? So really, these are issues that we need to address. The cost, obviously, the cost of having some of this technology, if you want to have a good one, and then it keeps changing. You keep have to update. Law Pavilion is an example. You pay, and then they tell you later they've done an update. So it is not that cheap. But we just have to embrace it and have to think about how we would, and obviously compatibility of the legal system with the new technology. Planning has to be done. So I look at my experience with the lands registry as an example. where, because they're updating their records, it is sad that for the past 3-4 months, you can't conduct a search at the lands registry. Why? Because they're updating. I mean, which country does that? If you want to update, so nobody can buy land, you can't do any search, you can't conduct searches for people because they're updating. So there must be proper planning that doesn't affect, because these are the things that discourages investors from coming into our country. So this must be done properly. CSC has also been a nightmare in the last few months. Everything is slow. You know, you want to, normally before, I mean, I would swear that CSC was improving. You could do anything, but COVID-19 has affected them. Nothing can be done online. There's so much delay. Before you could do an availability in 1 day. Now it takes a week, it takes 2 weeks. You can't incorporate a company in 2 weeks like we used to. So these are problems that needs to be addressed. Another challenge that I foresee is technical, and what I mean by technical specifications are that we need to ensure that we get the right specifications. So you need to use experts. I mean, we law firms, I mean, we do that from time to time where you just find out that somebody is using a particular technology, you just try and copy them without knowing if it actually fits your own purpose. So we need to make sure that we don't do this technical experts who are versed in this area to advise you as to what to do. Everybody has spoken about cybersecurity, so I'm not going to dwell on that. It is a challenge. We need to ensure that, please, if you could change the slide too, and the user experience. User experience, basically, we need to ensure that we have experience in what we're doing. So I've spoken about infrastructural challenge, the modern, we need to have uninterrupted power supply, which will enable the hearings to be uninterrupted and to have meetings without any problem. Next slide, please. Thank you. So stable internet, it is key. Internet connectivity needs to be constant. I mean, if you imagine that you go to court and you're sweating. Why are you sweating? Because there's no light. I mean, I feel sorry for the judges, but they have to continue to do the work. That's why at times, you know, the cases and the backlog of cases. So until we have constant electricity, we're going to have problems. It's affecting every facet of the industry. Access to technology is key. Rural areas, I think Professor Olawi spoke about that even when we speak in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and all the cities, but we still have to think about the fact that some rural areas do not have access to computers and internet, and we have courts in these areas. So how do they embrace technology? So we can't think that everything lies with just the big cities. Technology must move, and they must also have access to this. But poverty level in Nigeria is low, so things cannot be done in vacuum. We all need to think about all this because it's going to affect whatever plans that we have. Please, if you move to the next slide, please. So modern technology is key. I've already spoken about CAC and the fact that, I mean, when we have, if justice is delayed, obviously it will affect every one of us. Justice delayed. So please, if you could please change the slide. So we need to upgrade technology and user experience. Another challenge which I think is often overlooked is the user having experience in the area. We need to plan the migration properly so that when we migrate, those that are migrating do not lose data. And obviously, we need to continue to ensure that we upgrade technology, as has been said earlier on, because when you don't, then you are susceptible to, you know, hackers, as we've already heard earlier on. So we need to continue to maintain ensure that we maintain our technology and move with the times. AI, smart contracts, blockchain is the way to go. Mrs. Agba has already told us that it doesn't mean that we'll lose jobs. It just means that we have to move with the time so that we can actually be more involved. Definitely, I don't see how AI will take over. It can't, because there's still some things that human beings will need to do. Intellect is key. Yes, there's some things AI will do, but you can never do everything. So migrating with the new technology, we just all need to be technology savvy. So in a nutshell, and to conclude, because I'm really aware of the time I've been given, Innovation has the potential of completely revolutionizing the legal profession. The shift to a technology-enabled legal service will, however, require, as I've said, level of investment. The question is, can we all afford that investment? Can we all, or are we all able to afford to move with the times? But we need to continue to ensure that the lawyers actually possess the adequate IT skills. Firms need to ensure that they take the steps to improve their ICT facilities. Ultimately, I believe technology is meant to boost and will boost productivity. It will ensure quality. You can imagine where the courts are no longer writing with longhand. Judgments, obviously, cases will be heard faster and will be able to get to clear the backlog, where there's, which is being done in some courts, but it's not universal. The real measurement, I think, of success in the legal profession will be when the technology is being administered all over the country and not in a selected area. We can indeed make significant progress in this area if everyone embraces, and the government must be called upon to ensure that they give us the basic necessities that we need so that when we go to courts or we're doing virtual hearing or we're in CAC, things are done properly. I find myself most of the time advising the junior ones that if we can make sure that we actually have embraced and we are computer savvy, they need to do the same. ODR, online training, there's so many of them. We need to train them. We need to encourage people to go to embrace it. I mean, I can only talk about arbitration and dispute resolution and the courts because that's what I do mostly. But I mean, CRF has something called Blue Button and there's Modron. They're all very good facilities to use. I would encourage that everyone that is not yet technology savvy should try and ensure that they do. But no matter what we say, I believe that it is a rewarding experience, but the challenges are real, and we need to make sure that this as soon as possible. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Folashade Ali. Yes, she has mentioned. Hello.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Folashade Ali. She has identified some issues, and again, too, she has also identified some drawbacks, and she has mentioned that there are people in rural areas who would not have access to computers or internet to be able to connect to online proceedings. And again, to the word is that the message is that we truly need to do more, that we definitely have a long way to go in ensuring that modern technology is accessible to all users. And then she has a message for the government. The government needs to improve on infrastructure, especially power, to be able to cater for all of these. And again, too, she has also mentioned that you do not need to wait for all of these to be achieved. That if our era, such as Are Afe Babalola XAN, can embrace technology, we all need to do so. Thank you, Mrs. Folashade Ali. We appreciate. Thank you again, and once again, thank you. The next in line, it's Ikechukwu Wani, who will be talking to us in under 10 minutes. Ikechukwu Wani will be speaking to us on governance issues, the use of technology in litigation and dispute settlement mechanism or process. Please, Mr. Ikechukwu Wani, you have the floor. But before that, let me quickly say that Mr. Ikechukwu Wani has almost 20 years in commercial law practice and is a partner with Sadeka Attorneys. Before co-founding the firm, he had garnered extensive dispute resolution and transactional experience working in other law firms. For want of time, please, Mr. Ikechukwu Wani, you have the floor. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obom.
And let me also say that Ikechukwu Owane is the former secretary, Nigerian Bar Association, Lagos branch. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you to the organizers of this webinar, Threshold Attorneys and Solicitors. It's a privilege to speak once again at your webinar. And I've really enjoyed the papers or the speeches presented by my learned seniors who have spoken well before now, and it's been a learning curve for even me. I'm going to speak on issues around dispute resolution and technology. And I will start off by saying that the COVID-19, which almost all the speakers have mentioned today, and NSAS as well, have provided a veritable opportunity for the court system to change the way it has always done its or conducted its affairs. The court system, like we know right now, is majorly manual, from the filing of papers in courts to the judgment and enforcement of judgment has been totally manual. Our judges, like the last speaker, Mr. Ali, reckoned with, will write judgments in, in longhand, and all sorts. That has kind of reduced the speed for the justice delivery. It has also hampered the effectiveness of the judiciary. But we have come to a point where COVID-19 and NSAS and the destruction of the Lagos State High Court premises and the destruction of the courtrooms and all of that have provided an opportunity for us to rethink the way we do things. Someone said that you can't do the same thing and expect a different result. We've been doing things manually, and I think it's high time we look at it once again, the way we've been doing things, and find ways and means to do it more efficiently. And let me just try to break down some of the things that I think we should look at as far as the judiciary is concerned. I'll start off with the filing of processes in courts. And I'll be using the Lagos State High Court as a case study, so to speak, because that's where I practice mostly. And we'll find out that irrespective of the fact that the Lagos State High Court touts that it's doing e-filing, you still have to print out your documents from the office, sign them, and then take them to the registry. I understand that there's after payment, you do the payment electronically, but that's something that ordinarily anybody should be able to do from the comfort of their offices, but that's not the case. You still have to go to the registry for them to automate some numbers for you to go to the bank and make payments and all of that. But we think that this is something that can be seamless. From your offices, from our offices, we can sit down and print out the processes. You don't even need to print it out if you have electronic signature and possibly an electronic seal. You upload it to the website and then get it filed, but that's not the same. And a lot of those documents that we have filed before now, a lot of the documents that were in the process of being filed before the NSAS protest had gotten either burned or has been vandalized by the miscreants that took over the court premises. So I think that it's something that we need to look at seriously, and this is a time to automate it and ensure that the e-filing process works end to end, so that nobody needs to go to the cash registry to go and queue. Nobody needs to go to any bank. Once you have your card, you can sit in the comfort of your office and do the filing. And that would also help us be more efficient. You save the time you spend in Lagos traffic. You would also save the manpower you use at the court registry. You also would, maybe that would also help that filing could go on even at 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. when ordinarily the filing of processes in our courts today close at about 2 or 3, or 2 or 1 or 2 o'clock every day. So we can get more efficient and get more done if we implement the e-filing process end to end. Yes, I know that Lagos State High Court, for instance, some courts have started publishing their cost list on the website. But I think we can do much more than publishing the cost list on the website. I think it's high time that we look at even publishing the actual time for the hearing of the matters. And this, Ms. Sabo SAN, when she was speaking, mentioned about the protocol during COVID-19. During COVID, or just immediately after COVID-19, it seemed that we had made some progress. I know that some courts started fixing time. So your matter is coming up by 10 a.m. and that person's matter is coming up by 12. And you don't need to be in court on, just a few minutes before the time when your matter will come up. That helped a lot. So you could stay in the office and do some other things and come to the court just before your matter is called on, do your matter, and then leave the court premises so that others can use the premises. But it looked like we've lost that. I think I would encourage that our judiciary, implements it. On the website, we have the cases and we have the exact time, or about the exact time when the matter would come on. That would help a lot to ensure that we are more efficient. Also, if the courts are not, if a particular court is not going to sit on a particular day, or hearing is not going to go on for any reason, it may just be great if the registries send emails, which is something that I think we should have come over by this time, because email has been in use for donkey years now. And the court should embrace using technology to engage lawyers, to tell them, inform them of what's happening in the courts. Also, we've heard here about a virtual hearing. I think it was Mr. Ali that talked about virtual hearing, and I think that's something that we need to increase the use. And like we know, in the recent case of AG Lagos and AG Federal, reported in 2020 12 Nigerian Weekly Law Reports, part 345, the Supreme Court has heard that as at now that virtual hearing is legal and constitutional. So I don't think there's any issues, at least legal issues surrounding the constitutionality of virtual hearings. So I think our courts should adopt virtual hearings. And the adoption of it, yes, it comes with a number of challenges, but I think it will help the entire system of justice delivery. The court would have the opportunity to record the hearing itself and possibly go and look at the and to observe the demeanor of the witness when it's writing its ruling or judgment. The lawyers can refresh their memory if they have copies of the recorded proceedings before the next hearing date, so they could understand what questions were asked, where they stopped, and what can be done next. So I think it will generally make us more efficient as a people, more, and the ease of doing business better, because these things have a way of bottoming out to ease of doing business. So I think Zoom hearing or whatever hearing form of virtual hearing, court hearing, is something that we need to push. We saw a bit of it immediately after the COVID-19 and when the COVID-19 protocol had been set up. But we've not seen a lot of it since after then, and it's almost 6 months or more since then. I think we shouldn't lose the steam that we have garnered by reason of COVID-19 and NSAS. And I think this is the greatest opportunity we have to thoroughly change or totally change our justice administration system. Also, talking about after the hearing and address stage, yes, we already filed final addresses, but a number of places, in a number of courts, Federal Court of Appeal, and I think Ogun State High Court have in their High Court rules that parties, after hearing of the case, should provide the court with copies of their final addresses or briefs in a manner that is editable. And that's something that Lagos State does not do a lot now. And I think it will help a lot, so that the judge who is writing the ruling or judgment may just pick the areas from those particular soft copies of those filings to enable them deal with the ruling faster. Another area we could look at it, and this also related to the issue of virtual hearing, is pre-trial conferencing. Pre-trial conferencing is something that can totally be done online. And I think it's something that we need to advocate for, that, online, it's done 100% virtually. Because the questions, yes, and a number of questions are asked, documents are filed. Once you have filed your form, I think 17 and 18, and the matter is set down for pre-trial conference or case management conference, as the case may be, I see no reason why it cannot be done end-to-end electronically. It will save a lot of time. The parties who are interested in the matter don't need to spend resources to get to court and all of that. So these are some of the things that we need to look at critically as a people, and the judiciary needs to start wrapping up its system to ensure that these loopholes are blocked. And I think it will make us more efficient. Also, this is not exactly involved, this is not part of administration of justice, but just to stretch it a bit, the probate registry and the rest of it were also affected by the NSAS protests. A lot could have been lost if it was fully digitalized, and we have all the records archived, even in the courts, and all the records were archived in the courts and maybe stored away in the cloud. That would not be talking about a lot of the loss of materials and documents and processes that we're talking about today. I'm mindful of my time. I have 10 minutes, and I know the day has been long and well spent. And I will just leave it off at this point to say that technology is something that we need to proceed to embrace fully and implement in our daily lives. Thank you very much once again for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Ikechukwu Owane. That's a good one. Yes, you have stated precisely that the adoption of virtual hearing will usher in its own challenges, but that it will make us better, certainly make us better. And again, she's going to make us efficient. We appreciate. There's also this issue of deponents having interface with Commissioner of Oaths. I don't know how virtual hearing is going to solve that problem, but as time goes on, I think that's going to be resolved by a lot. Thank you once again for coming on the program, Ikechukwu Owane. We appreciate.
Talked about deponents deposing to witness statements and such documents, right?
Having an interface with Commissioner of Oaths before.
Yes, but we have notary publics around, so they mustn't go to the oath. They mustn't go to the Commissioner for Oath in court. They could depose before a notary public or some other persons that are commissioned to administer oaths. So those things can be played around if you have the will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ikechukwu Owane. We appreciate. We're glad to have you again. Again, too, like I said, Threshold Attorney is honored to have you on this program. The next person that'll be talking to us in under 10 minutes, it's Mrs. Ogogo Makinde. Mrs. Ogogo Makinde received an honor degrees LLB from the University of Benin in 1988. She was admitted to the Nigerian Bar in 1989. She has LLM from the University of Lagos. She's a partner in Aluko and Oyebode. Mrs. Ogogo Makinde, you're welcome to the program. Please, you have the stage.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I feel like a fraud in the midst of this illustrious team. I don't know how I'm going to follow with the profs and the SANs on the team. I think that I think a lot has already been said on the topic, and we have had very insightful discussions. We all agree that technology can be very inclusive, it can be very enabling, but the sad thing is that it can be also excluding, and because it is quite expensive to deploy. And I think that Mrs. Ali touched on some of that when she mentioned the cost and the issues with the hinterland. But I think that from what I can see is that you actually don't have to go so far into the hinterland. Even in Lagos, the concern that some or the people who do this research can see in the UK, for instance, that a lot of the small firms are going to be very impacted because they do not have the resources to deploy the technology that is required to be able to practice effectively. And I think in our own situation in Nigeria, it's going to be really devastating, both for the both in the cities as well as in the hinterland. I think for us, larger firms, we are able to deploy the technology, and it's been a very seamless segue into working from home. But I know for a fact that for the smaller firms, it has been really difficult. And sometimes even with our own associates, we see people who don't have lights. You need to provide, how do they get lights to be able to even join these calls and to do the work that they have to do. So it is, the technology can be very excluding. I would just like to touch on one or two things that I think we need to drill down more on. For instance, on the data privacy for client information. Even though we are all covered by professional legal privilege, we need to pay attention, particularly for the big law firms that have a lot of clients, that you are also receiving personal information. We have the Nigerian data protection regulations, which would not protect, would not, your professional legal privilege may not protect you from if you breach client data, personal data, privacy, and that regulation. A lot, the large law firms actually need to pay particular attention to it, because there are very large sanctions that could flow from that. I would say that the law firms need to pay attention to mitigating the potential risks that could come from being in breach of data privacy. I think the deployment of technology by law firms is a good thing. We are going to see more non-lawyer involvement in doing the work that we do, but we're also going to see that specialist legal skills will become more important. when I talk to GCs, they don't want to send you run-of-the-mill legal work anymore. They have either the expertise on in-house or they have the expertise online, but they're going to send you more specialist work, and that is a good thing for development of the law. But again, I am concerned for the small law firms and how they are going to be able to manage in this new world where there's a lot of information and legal expertise available online that the usual people who give out work are able to do for themselves. I think that is something that the people who run our NBA need to think about, because if the small law firms are unable to manage with the new way of life and the new exciting things that are going on with the technology being deployed and all of that, the man on the street is going to suffer, because I would say that not up to 10%, or I may be wrong, of Nigerians can afford to engage the large and the mid-level law firms. So the man on the street still needs accessible legal services. I was going to discuss the technology on the interface with regulatory authorities, what Mrs. Ali has really brilliantly dealt with that. It's all of the agencies are going online, which is fantastic, but we do have our own special infrastructural challenges. It should actually make the engagement and the interface seamless and easier, but we find that it is more difficult. Working with them is challenging, getting things done are challenging, even in our premier commercial cities. So you can imagine what will be happening in the hinterland. Those are things that are of concern that need to be considered. I will talk very briefly on something that is dear to me, which is advertisement and publication by law firms. We all can be very clever about how we do this and making sure that we have a presence online, which is good. But I think that maybe also the NBA should consider looking at our RPC again and try to bring it more, some of its provisions anyway, on advertising or publications by law firms and by lawyers, to try to bring it more into the new a world in which we all now live in. I do know that some updates had been done on the RPC, but I suspect that it didn't take into consideration the new COVID realities that we are going to be living with for some time. And I think that this is an opportunity for updating that document again, to bring it in line with current and modern realities. So in conclusion, the large law firms need to pay attention to the Nigerian data protection regulations. You have personal data of clients that we are managing, and there are very strict rules around that. They would need to consider the smaller firms. We need to consider the average man on the street and his access to legal services. We need to consider the fact that technology can be inclusive and can also be excluding because of the cost of deploying it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ogogo. That's a brief one, brief enough to cover the subject matter. We appreciate you, ma.
Thank you for having me.
When we are complaining of speaking earlier on, I did not entertain any fear at all, because we know what you're capable of doing, and we also know that you're up to the task. Once again, congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you.
The last but not the least, that will be talking to us in under 10 minutes, it's Dr. Baba Tunde Ajibade, XAN, ably represented by Ms. Bukola Iji. Yes, Ms. Bukola Iji, are you there?
Yes, I am. I can hear you.
Dr. Ajibade, XAN, it's an active legal practitioner, managing partner of SPA Ajibade & Co., the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He obtained an LLB degree from University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, in 1988, an LLM degree in Corporate and Commercial Law from King's College, University of London, in October 1999. He obtained a PhD degree in Private International Law from the same university in October 1996. He was called to the Nigerian bar in October 1988 and elevated to the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria in December 2007. He was the first member of the Nigerian Law School set of 1989 to be so elevated. Wow, congratulations, sir. Please, Bukola Aji, representing Dr. Ajibade XAN. Please, you have the stage. You're welcome, Mrs. Bukola Aji.
Thank you very much. I'm in great company, and I think that I probably should just say that I adopt everything that has been said so far, because they have covered the field and addressed all the issues. So what I've tried to do is to just pivot and just focus on what the subtopic that was sent to Dr. Ajibade is on. He was supposed to speak on why law firms and legal practitioners need to explore emerging technology. So I just focus on two areas, and I'll just summarize them as follows. So in order to understand and meet clients' needs, and also to improve efficiency and productivity, law firms now need to focus on two areas: improving the client experience and also including the human capital experience. So I'll take the client experience first. We need to change it. Of course, the big law firms like Mrs. Ogogomakini has already identified have been faster. They found it easier and faster to adopt this technology than actually invest in the infrastructure required to drive them. But we know that a lot of clients already are using technology in their own internal workflows. So law firms servicing them, of course, need to also get a leg in there so that they can work or at least meet the requirements or the needs of these clients. Some law firms already are also partnering with startups to develop legal technology. So that's something. Of course, AI, predictive technology, reference has been made to Law Pavilion, LexisNexis, some things that we have been using already. You can search through documents. All these things put together, they help the customer experience, because we spend fewer hours poring over books. Not that we'll abandon them totally, but you free up more time. Of course, a lot of people think that it might result in fewer fees or billable hours, but to be more competitive, or to be competitive to start with, you need to have streamlined hours on tasks, on assignments. You need to be able to offer fee structures or payments plans that are competitive, because clients now want better services. They want affordable services. So if you have a document or an automated system that can proofread documents, why would you spend 5 hours on it when with the aid of a software, you can reduce it to 2 hours? So basically, improving the customer experience will benefit the clients. It reduces the costs, and it also frees up more time to do other things, focus on other areas. And so the firm needs to consider all this technology, whatever level you are at, whether you are one of the big commercial firms or you're a small firm, there's some sort of technology that you can use to improve your processes so that you can pass on the gains to the customer. Well, I'll also consider the human capital experience as well, the associates, the other support staff that we have at law firms. There's this, I don't want to say negative connotation that, oh, if you want to succeed in a law firm, you need to put in long hours, you need to ignore social activities. No, but we moved away from there. Younger lawyers come in now. In fact, sometimes when I see how young lawyers or younger lawyers balance their life, they're active on social media, they have a social life, and they still get their job done. So that is where we are moving to. We need law firms where associates have they pay attention to their physical and mental fitness. They can also achieve tasks in a seamless manner. So document automation also helps the lawyers. Knowledge management, AI, the way the knowledge management system. So law firms, you keep churning out opinions. Where do you store them? How have they been automated? Do you have a system, no matter how small you are, where a lawyer or an associate does not have to reinvent the wheel every time there's a request, where they can check, or where do we have our document management, knowledge management system? How do we check to see whether we have provided an opinion on this area in the past? How do you update those documents? What about your precedents? How do you deal with them? Do you have like a template process where somebody is managing it and it is being tracked? Okay, we have this precedent, there's been a change, update the precedent every 3 months, put a note that shows when the document was last updated, so that when an associate picks it up, they know that, oh, this document was last updated for us in June 2020. So if there's been any change or anything that affects it, I need to take cognizance of that. So all those little things help how the service is provided. And you have, I think, better lawyers, happier lawyers. So we've talked about COVID and how it has affected us. More firms have managed to work remotely than others. Even in the same team, in the same law firm, some teams have worked better than others remotely. So for me, in our experience, I know that the commercial teams have worked better than the litigation teams, because I think over the years, especially on transactions that you've had to work on, you've concluded billion naira worth transactions without leaving your office and without having a meeting, because you send documents by email. But then there are better ways of managing the process. You have to invest in contract management software, project management software. And if you're at that space where you cannot afford that, there are other ways of managing. As we work remotely too, does your team invest in like a chat messaging app? There are so many free apps that you can have. Do you have like remote team management processes in place? Have you even sat down to come up with a one-page policy on how remote work will take place? Yes, we have challenges, infrastructure challenges, no light, but there should be check-ins so that, you know, someone just doesn't go off. We also think for human capital, law firms now have opportunities to even employ more people. If people can work remotely and they don't have to incur additional costs of transportation, leaving their locations, then you can even spread out and bring more people in the net and say, we can get more people to do this work. So I'll just summarize by saying that the new, well, as called emerging technologies and adoption of workflows will free up lawyers to handle more profitable matters, to reduce costs for service delivery. So greater profitability for the firm, more efficient service for clients, and flexibility for the lawyers working at those law firms. So I'll just leave it there because I don't want to repeat a lot of what has been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Mix Bukola Iji. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I don't think there is anything left unsaid. I think we have said virtually everything. Yes. I want to profoundly thank the speakers for coming today. I don't think anything we still need to say on this area. But before we call it a day, I want to bring in the managing solicitor of Threshold Attorney, the person of Miracle Akusiobi. Miracle Akusiobi is the founder and the managing partner of the firm. He has the firm's dispute resolution, energy and natural resources, labor, immigration, and real estate practice group. Sorry, Miracle Akusiobi, please. Can you please come in and do a vote of thanks to all the speakers? We appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Goodluck, we have like 2 questions from the
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So sorry, Sam. I'm so sorry. Before the vote of thanks, let's quickly run through the questions and see if we have time to answer the question. I understand that the program is time sensitive, but the questions are not many, just about 2 of them. So let's see if we can answer the 2 of them. The first question is, what does this new way of working mean for open justice? I think it's for Ms. Bukola Iji. Ms. Bukola Iji, are you there?
I am sorry.
Yes,
yes, I can hear you.
I think the question is directed at Babatunde Ajibade. And the question is, what does this new way of working mean for open justice?
Well, I'm just going to say that previous speakers, I don't know exactly, have made reference to services to the public and how it is made easier when most things can be virtual and reducing the need for how will I refer to it now? So for people in litigation and dealing with the courts, there's a lot of issues with people accessing justice and getting services even from other government parastatals. I think the more most things are digitized, lawyers and the judiciary will be able to profile better services. That's how I'm just laying it by. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know if that answers it.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know.
Someone else can offer to deal with it. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I don't even know if any of the speakers have anything to say on the question. Hello, Mrs. Funke Agbo XAMR. Please, I don't know if you have anything to add to what she has said so far. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So you're talking about how it affects or enables.
The question is, how does it affect the working? How does this new way of working mean? What does it mean for open justice? Sorry, that's a question.
That are now being.
I think there's an echo.
Can you hear me now?
Mr. Kusobo, are you in the same place?
No, we are not. We're not.
You're not. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you quite clearly.
The question is.
Yes,
can I read the question again? Okay, hear the question. Okay, sorry.
The question. You're talking about open justice. I'm not quite sure I understand what that means specifically. Are you talking about?
Yes, I think what the person is trying to say, it's not that we're going digital. And again, accused persons do not need to be in court physically for their matters to be heard. What does it mean for open justice? Where accused persons are not brought to court, they... Hello, ma.
Yes, okay, I get it now. I get it. I think I get it. Well, I know that. Remember that at the beginning of COVID, well, when COVID first reared its ugly head, the judicial system was still trying to grapple with it, and we're still trying to grapple with it, really. And Lagos State started, there was one initial virtual hearing that Lagos State was using as it's like a pilot of what it was possible. And I think it was, I don't know whether the word is unfortunate or not, but it was a judgment that was being read out as part of virtual proceedings to the whole world. And it was criminal, it was a criminal case in which the judgment was that the accused person, or now they call them respondents or defendants, was actually sentenced to death. So, to be honest, I mean, first of all, there was some excitement that, oh, there was a virtual hearing everybody wanted to hear. And then the hearing was a judgment in which somebody was being condemned to death to be hung by his neck until he died. And this was what was being televised or, broadcast to the entire world. So of course, the human rights people were up in arms and were saying that is that what justice is about, and so on and so on. But so I think we have to be careful about when we're talking about open justice. I think that remote hearings may lend itself to may not necessarily lend itself to every single situation, even in courts in the more developed countries, for want of a better expression, are grappling with it because of the COVID pandemic. So yes, it is good in some ways and may not always be good in some ways. So that is why courts have to develop protocols for different things. And I think as we go along, we'll learn more. But the fact that you can actually ensure that you are able to carry on, say, a criminal case remotely, if you have the cameras that you need or the equipment that you need in the prisons where they are being held, or you have a particular facility in the prisons, that will be possible. But given where we are now, I don't think that we will have that sort of system in place in a hurry. We have too many challenges that we have to surmount for even your basic day-to-day needs. So I think that we have to qualify whether it would be possible to pursue those kind of open justice techniques, so to speak, in all situations.
That doesn't come out. You just said it all, that it has its advantages and disadvantages too. At this point, I want to call on Miracle Apusiovi to please take the stage. Miracle, please.
Mr. Goodluck, thank you. We have come to the end of the webinar. This is the second webinar series of threshold attorneys and solicitors. Thank you for being with us. Thank you to all the speakers, the keynote speaker. Thank you to all the attendees. On behalf of threshold attorneys and solicitors, we are very grateful for being present today to deliver your well-structured lecture to all the attendees. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miracle Apusiovi. And again, once again, thank you all. That's the end of the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day.
I wish you all the best and safe journey to your destinations.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Ikechukwu Wani, I appreciate your presence. This is Funke Agbo. Thank you, ma, for coming. I also appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.